My death was announced on TV under my name. Everyone believed I was gone. 3 days later, when I opened the door and walked inside, he was preparing to sell my passport and jewelry, and the color drained from his face. My death was announced on TV under my name. Everyone believed I was gone. I was sitting upright in a hospital bed staring at my phone when a nurse walked in and said, "You might want to call your family." A local news channel had just aired a report about a car accident on Highway 75. The vehicle had caught fire. The license plate matched mine. And in the rush of breaking news, someone had said, "Driver deceased." My purse, my ID, everything was still inside that car. I was alive because I had switched shifts at the last minute that day. I had been planning to drive to Dallas, but a sharp pain in my stomach forced me into the emergency room instead. It was appendicitis. Surgery. My phone died. While I was under anesthesia, the world decided I was dead. The first day I didn't call anyone. I couldn't process what had happened. The second day I watched the news clip again. The third time I replayed it, I noticed something different. My husband Grant's face. There were fewer tears than I expected. More calculation than shock. On the third day I was discharged. My sister asked, "Are you sure you're ready to go home?" I said yes. But I wasn't ready. I was curious. I didn't take an Uber. I called Carol, my neighbor, the one who waters her lawn at 7 a.m. and sees everything. She said quietly, "Honey, it's been strange." When I reached our house in a quiet Fort Worth suburb, the one we bought 5 years ago with an FHA loan, the front door was half open. As soon as I stepped inside, I heard it. The metallic clink of jewelry hitting wood. Like someone sorting valuables. I walked into the dining room. Grant was sitting at the table. My jewelry box was open. My grandmother's gold chain. My wedding ring. And my passport. His laptop was open to a pawn shop website. When he saw me, the color drained from his face. Like he'd seen a ghost. "Emily." His voice cracked. I stayed by the doorway. Surprise. For a few seconds he couldn't speak. Then he stood up too fast, knocking over his chair. "They said you were dead." I finished. "Yeah. I saw." He stepped toward me as if to touch me, but I moved back. "Why is my passport on the table, Grant?" He stammered. "I was organizing things." "Organizing them for eBay?" Silence. I walked into the kitchen. The refrigerator was nearly empty. In 3 days the house felt rearranged. Papers spread out. File folders open. My life insurance policy placed neatly at the center of the table. "I didn't know what to do," he blurted. "The bills. The bills. Always the bills." Yes, we were drowning. His construction business collapsed last year. My marketing job disappeared during layoffs. We were 2 months behind on the mortgage. Medical debt stacked up after his back injury. Collection calls had become background noise in our lives. But 3 days after thinking I was dead, he was pricing my jewelry? I picked up the insurance papers. "You called them." "They reached out," he said, avoiding my eyes. "Did you tell them I might still be alive?" He didn't answer. And that's when it clicked. This wasn't panic. It was preparation. "Grant," I said quietly, "how long have you been waiting?" His temper flared. "Waiting for what? For things to get better? For us to stop drowning? Or for a payout?" He slammed his hand against the table. "You think I wanted you dead?" I looked straight at him. "I think you wanted relief." He sank back into his chair. For a moment he looked broken. But I realized something unsettling. He didn't look relieved I was alive. A memory surfaced. A month earlier he'd insisted I drive alone to Dallas. "It'll clear your head," he'd said. He'd offered to inspect the car himself. I didn't scream. I didn't accuse. I went upstairs, packed a suitcase. Clothes. Important documents. My laptop. When I came back down, he was still sitting there. "Where are you going?" he asked. "Somewhere I'm not worth more dead than alive." Carol let me stay in her guest room without questions. The next morning I met with a lawyer. The life insurance claim hadn't officially been filed, because no body had been identified, but Grant had started preliminary paperwork. More concerning, the brakes on my car had recently been serviced. At his friend's auto shop. From there, it stopped being emotional and started being strategic. I gathered evidence. Filed for separation. Froze joint accounts. contacted the insurance company to confirm I was alive and requested a formal review of any claims initiated. The police opened an investigation. They couldn't prove the break work was intentional sabotage, but Grant's statements kept shifting. He sent me messages. I was scared. I thought we were already done. I never meant for this to happen. Maybe he believed that. Maybe he didn't. What mattered was this. When the world thought I was dead, he didn't collapse in grief. He made an inventory. 6 months later, I sold the house. We took a loss, but I walked away free. I moved to Austin. A small apartment. A non-profit job that pays less than marketing did but feels clean. Honest. I go to therapy. I've learned to drive again without flinching every time I press the brakes. Sometimes I wonder, if the news hadn't made that mistake, if I'd just come home from Dallas like normal, would I have ever known my value in that house? The report of my death did something strange. It resurrected me. Grant may not have tried to kill me. I can't prove that. But he showed me something worse. He wasn't prepared to fight for my life. He was ready to cash it in. I've learned that being alive isn't just about breathing. It's about deciding your own worth. When I closed the door to that house for the last time, I didn't look back. Because this time I was truly alive.